Welcome to today's story. This video will help you improve your English listening and pronunciation skills. I suggest you pause after each sentence and try to repeat what you hear. Today you'll hear about Olivia, a lifeguard who experienced something extraordinary last summer. She's going to tell you about choices, about what people hide from themselves, about a mysterious woman who came to her beach every day but never touched the water. But Olivia will also reveal something else. A secret she only understood months later. Something that changed how she sees her job forever. Let's go to the story. My name is Olivia. I'm 29 years old. I work as a lifeguard in South Beach, Miami. I wear this bracelet made of tiny shells. My grandmother gave it to me when I was 7. She said shells remember every wave, every story the ocean tells. I thought it was just a pretty story. I was wrong. That morning started like any other. I arrived at the beach at 6:30. The sun was painting the sky pink and orange. I love this time of day. Before the crowds, before the noise. Just me and the ocean. I sat at my chair. The red one with the white cross. Tower number 7. I've been working from this spot for 3 years. I know every current, every dangerous wave pattern, every person who visits regularly. But that morning, something felt different. The air was heavier. The seagulls were quieter. Even the waves seemed to whisper instead of crash. Then I saw her again. I noticed the woman with dark hair. She sat on the same spot. Third umbrella from the pier. She never went in the water. Never even took off her sandals. But today she was wearing something I hadn't seen before. A thin gold chain around her ankle. It caught the morning light like a secret. I had been watching people for 5 years. I saw families with screaming kids, couples taking selfies, teenagers showing off, old men with metal detectors. But this woman was different. She came every Tuesday and Thursday, always alone, always in a white dress that covered her knees. What puzzled me most was her timing. She always arrived at exactly 9:15. I started paying attention after the 3rd week. 9:15. Never 9:10. Never 9:20. Like she was following a schedule only she understood. She would sit for exactly 2 hours. Sometimes she read. Sometimes she just stared at the waves. I noticed her hands stayed folded in her lap, like she was holding something precious. But I could see her fingers moving, like she was counting or praying. I made my coffee that morning. Black, no sugar. The same way I always did. But I couldn't stop watching her. Something about her posture looked defeated, smaller, like she was carrying a weight I couldn't see. Around 8:30, I noticed something strange. A man walked past her umbrella. Twice. He didn't stop. Didn't wave. But I saw him look at her. Both times. Then he sat at the beach bar, ordered a drink, and kept watching. I felt my lifeguard instincts kick in. I've seen stalkers before. Creepy men who follow women to beaches. I grabbed my radio, ready to call security. But then the man left. Without approaching her. Without even finishing his drink. The woman didn't seem to notice him. Or maybe she was pretending not to notice. Around noon, I walked over to her spot. I could feel the sun was getting strong. Most people were under umbrellas or in the water. My shadow fell across her book. She looked up. I approached her and asked if she was okay. I mentioned I had been seeing her come here for weeks. She looked up at me. I saw her eyes were red, like she had been crying. But there was something else. Fear. She told me she was fine, but I heard her voice shake. I introduced myself as Olivia and said I worked there. I offered my help if she needed anything. She smiled at me. I saw a tiny smile that didn't reach her eyes. She said her name was Sarah and that she was from Chicago. When she said Chicago, I noticed her hand move to her throat. Like the word hurt to say. I asked if she was on vacation. She said something like that, but her eyes looked past me, toward the beach bar where the man had been sitting. I sat down next to her. I felt the sand was warm under my legs. Up close, I could see more details. Her white dress had tiny stains. Coffee maybe. Or tears. Her nails were bitten short. Her phone sat face down beside her, like she was hiding from someone. I mentioned that I had noticed she never went in the water. I watched her hands move to her lap. She was hiding something. She told me she couldn't swim. I knew that was a lie. I could tell. People who can't swim don't stare at waves like that. They don't choose beaches. They choose pools. Or lakes. Or stay home. But there was something about the way she said it. Like she was protecting herself from something bigger than water. I asked her what was really going on. I watched Sarah look at the ocean. A seagull landed near us. I saw it walk in circles, looking for food. She watched the bird for a long time, like it reminded her of something. She told me she had gotten engaged 3 months ago to a man named David. She opened her left hand. I saw there was a ring. A big diamond that caught the sunlight. But I also saw something else. A bruise on her wrist. Faded, yellow, old. She described him as perfect. Good job, nice family. She said everyone told her she was lucky. But then she paused. She confessed she didn't love him. The way she said it made me think love wasn't the real problem. I felt those words hang in the air. Like smoke. Like something you can see but can't grab. I asked her why she was here then. She explained this was where she was supposed to have her honeymoon. But her voice broke when she said honeymoon. Like the word tasted bitter. I felt my chest tighten. I understood now. She wasn't on vacation. She was saying goodbye. But to what? She told me they had booked this hotel 8 months ago. She said David had shown her pictures. He had promised they would swim with dolphins, build sandcastles. The way she talked about David's promises sounded rehearsed, like she had been practicing these words. She laughed, but I could hear it was a broken sound. She told me she kept thinking about her future. 30 years from now, sitting at dinner tables, pretending to be happy, pretending David's jokes were funny. But I heard something else in her voice. Fear of those 30 years. I asked when the wedding was. She said next month. Then she added something that made my blood cold. She said David had moved the date up. Twice. He was getting impatient. I felt a wave crash louder than the others. I saw the foam reach our feet. I watched Sarah pull her legs back, like the water might hurt her. But I realized it wasn't the water she was afraid of. She told me about her dress hanging in her closet. $3,000. She said her mom cried every time she saw it. Her mother kept saying how proud she was. But Sarah's voice suggested her mother didn't know everything. I asked her what she wanted. She was quiet for a long time. I watched the seagull fly away. I saw another one take its place. The silence stretched between us like a bridge neither of us wanted to cross. Finally, she told me she wanted to feel something real, even if it was fear. But I heard the word she didn't say: freedom. I stood up. I brushed sand off my shorts. Something in my grandmother's voice echoed in my mind. About shells remembering stories. About the ocean keeping secrets. I told her to come with me. She asked where. I said to the water. I saw panic flash across her face. Not fear of drowning. Something deeper. I watched Sarah shake her head. Fast. Like a child. She reminded me that she had told me she couldn't swim. But I realized she meant something else. She couldn't let go. I assured her I was a lifeguard and wouldn't let anything happen. She protested that she was wearing a dress. I told her it didn't matter. Clothes dry. Souls don't always heal. I held out my hand. I noticed my shell bracelet caught the light. Just like her ring. But my bracelet felt warm. Her ring looked cold. I told her she had come here for a reason. Not to sit. Not to watch. She had come here to decide. I saw Sarah's eyes fill with tears. She told me she was scared. I told her that was good. Fear means it matters. Fear means you're still alive. She took my hand. I felt her fingers were cold. Even in the Miami heat. We walked to the water's edge. I could see the waves were gentle. Like the ocean was trying to be polite. Like it knew this was important. I told her to start with just her toes. I watched Sarah step forward. I saw the water touch her feet. She gasped. But I noticed she didn't move back. For the first time since I met her, she moved forward. She said it was warm. Like she was surprised. I encouraged her to go to her ankles. Each step seemed to cost her something, but also give her something back. Another step. I saw the white dress get wet at the bottom. I noticed Sarah didn't seem to care anymore. The dress that had been so carefully protected was getting ruined. And she was smiling. She mentioned that David would hate this. She said he didn't like sand. He thought it was messy. He liked control, order, clean lines. The way she said his name made me understand. This wasn't about a wedding. This was about escape. I asked her what she liked. I watched Sarah look at me. Really look. For the first time since I met her. Like she was seeing herself through new eyes. She told me she liked things that were real, messy, honest. Things that couldn't be controlled or planned or purchased. I saw a bigger wave come. I watched it reach her knees. I heard Sarah laugh. A real laugh this time. The kind that comes from deep inside. From a place that had been locked away. She told me she was 26 years old and had never felt ocean water on her skin. But I heard what she really meant. She had never felt free. We stood there for 10 minutes. I felt waves coming and going. I could see Sarah's dress was soaked. I noticed her hair was wild from the salt air. She looked different, younger, like she was remembering who she used to be. The salt water was washing away more than just sand. It was washing away fear, doubt, the voice that told her she wasn't worth more than what David offered. Finally, she said she had to go back. I asked if she meant to Chicago. She said she meant to decide. But I could see in her eyes the decision was already made. We walked back to her spot. I watched Sarah sit down. But I could see something had changed. I noticed her hands weren't folded anymore. They were open, relaxed, ready to hold something new. She took off the ring. I saw her hold it up to the sun. The diamond threw rainbows across the sand. She said it was beautiful, but it wasn't hers. It belonged to the woman David wanted her to be. I asked what she meant. She explained that David had picked it. His mother had helped. They had told her she would love it. And she had said yes. Because that's what she did. She said yes to everything. Until now, I watched Sarah put the ring in her purse. Next to her phone. Next to her plane ticket home. But I noticed she hesitated before closing the purse. Like she was saying goodbye to more than just jewelry. I asked if she would tell him. She said yes, tonight. I asked what she would say. She told me she would tell him the truth. That she wasn't ready. That she needed to figure out who she was first. But I heard the real truth. She would never be ready for David. Because she deserved better. She stood up. I watched her shake the sand from her dress. It was ruined. But I could see she was smiling. The dress could be replaced. Her freedom COULDN single quotes T doc. She thanked me for asking the right question. I asked what question. She said I had asked what she wanted. Nobody had ever asked her that before. As she packed her things, I noticed she left the book behind. A romance novel with a happy ending. She didn't need those stories anymore. She was writing her own. I watched Sarah walk toward the hotel. I saw her wet dress leave footprints in the sand. I watched them disappear when the next wave came. But the change in her wouldn't disappear. That was permanent. Before she reached the hotel, she turned back. She waved at me. Then she did something that surprised me. She walked to the water's edge one more time. She cupped some ocean water in her hands. She drank it. Like she was baptizing herself with salt and courage. I touched my shell bracelet. I thought about what my grandmother said. Shells remember every wave, every story. I realized my bracelet had been waiting for this story. This moment. This woman who needed to remember she was worth more than a perfect engagement ring. That evening, I stayed late at the beach. I don't usually do that. But something told me to wait. Around sunset, I saw police cars at the hotel. I walked over. Asked what happened. The hotel manager told me a woman had checked out suddenly. Left her key at the desk with a note. She'd been staying there for 2 weeks. Alone. She had paid for a month but only stayed half the time. I never saw Sarah again. But 2 days later I found something in the sand. Right where she used to sit. A small piece of paper. Wet from the waves but still readable. It had a phone number written on it. A Chicago area code. Below the number, 2 words, thank you. I kept that piece of paper. I never called the number. But I kept it. 6 months later, I received a postcard from Sarah. From Colorado. She was teaching kids how to ski. Living in a cabin. Learning to cook. I saw the postcard had a picture of mountains. Snow everywhere. It looked cold. But peaceful. On the back she had written that she was learning to swim in a lake. Slowly. But without fear. She thanked me for showing her the water. For showing her she could choose, she signed it with a small drawing. A seashell. Below the shell, she wrote, "I remember now. I keep the postcard in my locker at work. Next to my sunscreen. Next to my whistle." Sometimes I think about David, about the wedding that never happened, about the dress still hanging in a closet, about the man who lost a woman he never really knew. But mostly I think about courage. About the moment I watched Sarah step into the ocean. About how sometimes saying no is the bravest thing you can do. About how water remembers everything. Even the stories we think we've forgotten. Every morning, I put on my shell bracelet. I make my coffee. Black, no sugar. I watch the waves. And when I see someone sitting alone on the beach, I remember Sarah. I remember that sometimes people don't need saving from the water. Sometimes they need saving from themselves. I hear the ocean keep telling its stories. Wave after wave. And I keep listening. Because every shell remembers. Every wave carries truth. And sometimes, if you listen carefully, you can hear someone finding their freedom in the sound of salt water washing away their fears. My grandmother was right. The ocean does keep secrets. But sometimes, if you're lucky, it shares them with the right person at the right time. If this story helped you practice your English, please like this video and subscribe for more listening practice. Leave a comment about what you think Sarah's new life looks like. I'd love to hear your thoughts.